I think you hit the nail on the head. So obviously, if you're living under a rock and invested in the Pulse Chain ecosystem, so news came out that what's it actually called? A red label on Interpol for Richard Hart, like the actual designation of it. It's like red.
Don't know, red flag or red
Yeah,
something.
I don't know what it is, but essentially, yeah. For the alleged crimes in Finland of basically not paying taxes and some sort of assault, which again we read this months back in a very like I don't know if it was purposely shittily written, but a very like crappily written article by somebody that allegedly happened 3 or 4 like February 2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like yeah, it is old news that we had heard about before. That is, I guess, what's news, if anything, is that Interpol officially like put him on this list or whatever. And again, like you said, yeah, a lot like Bitcoin maxis and mainstream crypto people that need to like engagement farm and do airdrops and create coins and shit like that are tweeting about it like they always do when anything happens that they perceive to be negative with this ecosystem. They don't really ever follow the ecosystem. Red notice, okay. They don't really follow the ecosystem or know of anything going on within it. It's just whenever there's news like this, like when the SEC thing dropped. You and I were discussing this earlier. For anybody that was around whatever that was, July 31st of 23. When the SEC lawsuit came down, all of a sudden, like Mario Narwhal or whatever his name is, and all these other people that are on Twitter Spaces all day, every day, get together and like, well, there's a DOJ charge coming from there. And what I can tell you from my experience, everybody becomes an expert. Yeah, in dealings when shit like this happens. Now, this is not to like belittle. I think we can comfortably belittle these actions. Of course, it's just bullshit. As Tate would say, Matrix type stuff. I'm not belittling like some people being like, oh my god, like my bags are down, what's going to happen here? I do understand that. We've been talking about that a lot today, but like in terms of the reporting of the quote unquote news, it's kind of same old with these mainstream crypto people. So what are you seeing out there, Ewok?
Well, yeah, again, it's a bunch of Bitcoin maxis. I'm seeing people, Max Kaiser's wife. Like, who is this lady? What the hell? And why is she posting it? Like, it's just a bunch of noise, as far as I'm concerned. We've been dealing with FUD, Richards this or Richards that since the early days. And the one thing that I can honestly say, this is all opinion. Again, most of this is speculation. None of this, because nobody's made announcements, other than what we've seen online. We don't really know what's happening. We don't know why Finland wants tax money. What if it's not from Finland? What if it's in a trust somewhere? So do they even have a right to ask for it? Or I'm sure his lawyers have already been involved. Or I'm sure he has them being advised or whatever. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is, again, it's just noise. As far as I see it, is free advertisement. There are going to be people out there that get worried about their investments, rightfully so. I get it, completely get it. But at the same time, there's also going to be the haters that only come out of the woodwork when something bad happens. Like when we go up hundreds of percent, thousands of percent, whatever, multiple X's, they're quiet. They're really quiet. So they come out of the woodwork to kind of say, I told you so. And only then and only then do they make an appearance. And, I feel like, so I'm torn. I feel like a lot of them should be just blocked. Because there's a lot of engagement farming. They know how active this community is. They know how passionate we are about the things, and a lot of it does get engagement. And obviously, a lot of them get paid to put stuff on X or wherever it may be. So there's that. The second part is, okay, now we are talking free advertisement. Do we, stand by and just comment these things? And like argue back? Well, some people do it in a strategic way. Some people just are being like, you're an asshole, we don't care. So that turns people off too. So you got to kind of be careful how we do interact with some of these people, because again, it is free marketing. People may catch a glimpse of this that didn't know about it before or whatever. And if they do enough research and look into it, well, they'll realize that this is completely decentralized. There is no shutting it off, no matter what happens to Richard. Again, I'm sure he's taking the right steps. I'm sure his lawyers are involved, whatever it may be. But if he does get picked up, for example, and gets thrown in jail until he gets a hearing or whatever, it's not going to stop anything. The only thing that's going to stop is him tweeting, essentially, because what? He's not live streaming anyway. We're waiting for another decision. I don't think that'll affect it because it's a totally different, jurisdiction, whatever. And there's another word, jurisdiction. Like, who's got jurisdiction on this? And there's just a lot of questions, right? I mean, everybody at this point, it's all speculation. There's been no announcements made, nothing like that. So, that's where I'm at with it. You gotta kind of take it as the free advertising that it is. If we believe, then we stand by our decision to invest in this and stick up for it. There are going to be people that probably FUD. I saw some major cells already that caused some of these red candles and have gotten out because they were shaken. I get it. So either you believe or you don't. It's one of those. It's one or the other.
Yeah, and to kind of acknowledge that point, like I don't forget who it was, but somebody, I was actually a Twitter comment, but somebody earlier that, oh, this is an emergency stream. Boy, we're fucked, aren't we? And stuff. I mean, I don't know what the sentiment of that is, but like for some of the people, like, again, I do understand people that invest within the ecosystem being stressed by it, that maybe have not been accustomed to getting news or FUD or whatever you want to call it. Like, again, with the SEC thing, whenever that came down, like that was a day, like people got scared that day, and obviously as you zoom out and get past it, you realize like the SEC is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like they're just an unelected government agency that everybody hates. And like, here we are over about a year and a half since that suit came down, and their clock's being cleaned, their house is being cleaned. Gary Gensler's gone in a matter of weeks.
Yep.
It's bullshit. Now I'm not saying that like other countries and Interpol and stuff like that is bullshit when this happens, but you look at like them putting this red notice on Richard Hardy, look at like the other names and why they're on that list and things like that. So you got potential like tax evasion, which that's their claim. It's
right.
not proven tax evasion or that you're owed any of that money or anything. And then some kind of assault that there's a couple details of in 2021. And everybody seems to be, and I'm not trying to get into the particulars of it, but as long as other people are without proof, why not? But there's people that, so he's beating a 16-year-old girl when there's nothing about it being a female anywhere in anything.
Right.
I think it said that like something by their hair or something like that. It could be. I was thinking about this. If we're talking about a small statured person with long hair, what if it's Maria Rael or whatever?
Yeah, maybe. Right.
Who knows? Maybe they got in a tussle one night, and maybe.
Well, to your point, you look at that list of all the most wanted people, and it's like that little game of one of these is not like the others,
right?
And it's just kind of funny how you mix that in there. Now, I mean, I guess tax evasion can be a serious thing, unless you believe that taxation's theft anyway. So which is it? A lot of these people that post all this stuff about Richard, they're supposed to be like, they think taxation's theft, and now you see them doing this. So they talk out of both sides of their mouth. And I think I had noticed someone had said something about that assault charge or whatever the charge actually is the only reason they're bringing it up is because in another several months the statute of limitation is gone. So that's the only reason it's being brought up and kind of bundled into this, which is completely plausible. Again, remember, all this stuff is speculation. Nobody has heard facts. Nobody's been brought to with lawyers or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, the main account's having a field day with it is just something to be expected. And to your point earlier about like should pulse chain people or hex people like be chiming in the comments. I mean, I do think it's good to have. Yeah, obviously, you're going to have like people who any field has people who like aren't very good speakers and are just saying like, fuck you, blah, 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 that aren't really adding anything to the conversation. But there's plenty of people out there. Like I saw Johnny Chaos ratioing somebody and speaking on it the right way. Obviously, hexologist out there doing what he does and stuff like that. I think Sami's been doing it. I mean, I think it's all good that those people are out there doing that. And a lot of those accounts are just getting ratioed. Like that altcoin Gordon guy, all he does is try to bait people all the time on Twitter. Like he's
Yep.
done Richard Hart and Hex before. And a great point that you just made, all of these people presumably are 100, well, maybe not 100, but mostly behind Donald Trump and are in agreement that, all these, erroneous lawsuits and things like that have been thrown at him are just attempts to, man, somebody said it perfectly in a tweet that I sent you, but just how, bureaucrats and stuff like that use other systems to try to take somebody down for something because they can't actually do anything for what they're alleging the person is doing. I mean, they
Right.
can't stop pulse chain, they can't stop Hex and stuff. And if you try to create financial revolution or something outside of their normal system, they're going to try to it's just like Trump. It's like, well, 30 years ago, a woman said that it's just people are getting sick of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and not to ignore or crap on anything that ever has really happened to somebody, obviously, in the past. But it's one of those things like, okay, oh, well, this person didn't bring it up until 30 years later. It's like nobody gives a shit anymore. And in terms of with politics, we all know that you all have done criminal acts, So if we're
Yeah.
comparing what Richard may or may not have done in his life compared to what some of these people, his accusers, have done that we know of, it's like, come on.
Well, that doesn't always make it right, to
Right.
obviously, but K-Man brings up a good point here. If RH wasn't changing the game, he wouldn't have been noticed by the government. It's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what's going on. I feel like a lot of people are just threatened. They're threatened by what's being created. Not only that, they're pissed off because how many of those guys did he probably destroy in live chat with debates along the way? So they hold a grudge. He's always called Hex the better Bitcoin. And they don't like that. There's anything that threatens their bags, they're going to be, very defensive about and say things. And when anybody's, in a position of superiority over them, they're going to try and take advantage of any little misstep that may happen or news to to the negative news anyway. So, yep, exactly. It's the Trump syndrome all over again. And I've heard a lot of people call him the Trump of crypto. So